Alright guys, this is where we can actually start to have a little bit of fun with the shell scripting, okay? So we're going to look at some shell script examples. We're going to even write a few shell scripts, okay? Guys, we're going to go through this as best we can. I'm going to try and give you the best crash course I can on how to write some shell scripting. We will go in much more depth in our bash shell scripting classes, though, as how to those constructs are set up, the proper indentation, all the different if statements, while statements, what all the different bash scripting commands can do, and things like that, okay? So we're just going to show some examples here. We're going to spend a good amount of time on this. All right, so let's look at our first example here. Oops. So we're looking at our first example here, okay? And let's check out this first line. So you see a pound sign or hashtag sign, exclamation point, /bin /sh. This first line is known as your hash pling. Okay, so this is telling the loader what interpreter it should be using, okay? It's telling it what language or what interpreter it should interpret all this code as, okay? This next line here, we have the pound sign again, and this is a comment line, okay? So this line isn't going to be read as any type of commands or scripting, okay? Then we have our third line here. We should be pretty familiar with this. This is the echo command, and it's hello world, okay? And then we can even put a comment on the same line. It's still not going to interpret that as a command, okay? So these shell scripts are interpreted line by line. So we do the first line, second line, third line, and it goes left to right, character by character, okay? Let's go ahead and go to our terminal here. Let's type this one in. Clear the screen. Make sure you're logged in as root. Okay, so you got to do a su dash. Let me go ahead and show you that. I'm going to exit out. I'm already in as root. So I'm going to do sudo, or I'm going to do su dash to switch to root. It's going to ask for my password. Okay. And then I'm going to do a vim. Remember, we can use our text editors for that. And I'm going to use vim enhance, or vi enhance, which is vim. All right. And let's just name this one hello.sh. So guys, when you're creating shell scripts, make sure you end it with the extension .sh. This does two things. One, it's going to let everyone know that sees that file that this is indeed a shell script, and that's what it is, and that's what it's doing. Two, when you add this extension, Vim recognizes this as a shell script, and it's actually going to color code some things for you as you're typing them in the editor, okay? So it recognizes that you're using a shell script, and it's going to help you out a little bit on that. So remember, in our Vim editor, we need to hit I for insert mode so you can actually input some things. So we're going to always start with that hash pling, which is pound sign, exclamation point, and for this one we're going to do /bin /sh, so we're using the shell interpreter. The next line we're going to do a hashtag sign again, or a pound symbol. We're going to say this is a comment, exclamation point. And we're going to hit enter again, and we're going to actually put in the command echo, quotation mark, hello world, quotation mark. And then on the same line, we're going to put another comment and say this is a comment too. Okay? And then remember, to save this, we're going to hit escape, write quit. Okay? Now we got to do one more thing. Let's go ahead and do an LL. We see that script here, but let's notice one thing. We don't have execute permissions here, right? So there's really no way at this moment to run this file or execute it. So we got to make it executable. So to change the permissions, let me clear my screen. To change the permissions, we do chmod. And we want everyone to be able to execute this. So we're going to do A for all, add or plus, X for executable, and the name.sh file. Okay. Oops. Did I mistype it? Oh yeah. Sorry guys. Wrong name. So it's chmod A plus X hello.sh. There we go. So I'll do an LL, and we now see it's even green now, so we know it's executable. Something's changed. Now we see everyone has executable rights there for that file. Okay. So to run this file, we're going to say look in this directory // so search in the current directory, and run the hello.sh script, okay? Let's see what happens. Boom. It just echoes out to us hello world. This is exactly what was in the script, okay? And notice it didn't echo or do anything with the commented out lines. That pound or hashtag symbol tells the interpreter, hey, ignore this line, don't interpret anything on it, okay? Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Let's look at our second example here. So, example 2, we have our hash pling again. We have another commented line that says example of using arguments to a script. We have an echo command. My first name is $1. Remember guys, dollar signs represent variables. Okay, that's important to know. The second line is echo. My surname is $2. So we have another variable called 2. And then we have a third echo line that says echo. Total number of arguments is $. And we have this variable here. Okay. So guys, if you've never seen the word surname before, that just means last name. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to name this file as name.sh. We're going to set execution permissions on that file by using chmod a+x. And we're going to execute the file just like we did previously. Okay. So let's go ahead and head to our terminal. And let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do vim. We're going to name it name.sh. So we're putting that shell script extension on it. Okay. We're going to hit I for insert mode. Okay. And always start with the hash pling. So pound or hashtag sign, exclamation point, /bin/bash. Now guys, here I can put, K shell, KSH. I can put Z shell, ZSH. I can just put shell like we did in the last example, or we can use bash. Bash is what you're typically going to be using each time. This, again, is just telling the interpreter, or the loader, what interpreter you use, either K shell, Z shell, bash shell, okay? Now this is important for coding. It doesn't mean too much to us right now, but for coding, if we ever want to use our code in other shells, we may want to use one that's most friendly across all shells, okay? So we're going to go to our next line here. We're going to add a comment. So this line will not be interpreted. We're going to put example of using arguments to a script. We're going to go to our next line. We're going to put echo. My first name is $1 and the end quotation. Now guys, it doesn't matter if I put a space in between these two lines. This is just going to be read as a blank space, and nothing's going to matter or happen. So we can put as much space as we want in between these lines, and it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's up to you, your preference on how you want it to look. We're going to put echo again. But my surname is $2. Then we're going to do a third echo. Echo total number of arguments is $, and then pound or hashtag symbol, okay? And we're going to save this, so we hit escape, write, quit, okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to add some arguments to the shell script. But before we do that, let's do an LL. What do we notice about this shell script? It's not executable, right? So we got to make it executable. Let me clear my screen. So we're going to do chmod, because we're changing permissions. We want everyone, all, and we want all to have executable permissions. So name.sh, okay? Do an LL, and now we see name.sh is executable for everyone, okay? Clear my screen. Let's go back to our PowerPoint real quick and see what we're going to be doing here for this particular shell script. So what we're going to do, we changed permissions, all plus executable. We're going to run it using that // again, but now we're going to add 2 arguments to it, Hans, Lloyd. We're going to supply that shell script with arguments on the command line. All right, let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, so we say use in this current directory, look in this current directory, name.sh. Okay, we say Hans, Lloyd. Let's see what happens when we run it and add these two arguments. My first name is Hans. My surname is Lloyd. Total number of arguments is 2. Huh, interesting. All right, well, what happened there? Let's check it out. So guys, what happened is we ran the script, but we added 2 arguments to it, okay? And those arguments were stored in these variables here. So Hans was stored in this first variable, 1. Lloyd was stored in the second variable, 2. And then this variable ran the number of arguments. Okay? Let's see what happens when we put a third name in there, all right? So let's run the ./name.sh script. Okay. Or actually, before that, why don't we even just put a different name? We can put my name and let's see what happens. Okay, so again, my first name is Kevin. My surname is Downs. The total number of arguments is 2 again, okay? Let's see what happens. Actually, for that, let's see what happens if we add 3 names in there. So let's just make up a name. Let's say ./name.sh. We're just going to make up a name. Troy, Andrew, Anderson. Okay, just a made up name here. Let's see what happens when we run the script with 3 arguments. Okay, well, it kind of worked. We have my first name is Troy. Yeah, that's right. And then we have my surname is Andrew. That's not right. Andrew is the middle name. But it did count the number of arguments, right? Which was 3. So what's going on here, guys? Well, if we look at our script, we notice we only set up 2 variables here, right? So that first argument went here. The second argument went here. Well, we didn't have a spot for a third argument, did we? We do have a spot to count the arguments, but we don't have one to count a third argument. So let's modify this a little bit. We'll hit I for insert. We're going to add another echo line. We're going to say my middle name, name is $2, quotation mark. We're going to change this to 3 here because it's the third variable. We're going to escape, right quit. Now let's run that command again. Say Troy, Andrew, Anderson. Let's see what happens now. Ah, perfect. So now it says my first name is Troy, my middle name is Andrew, my surname is Anderson, and the total number of arguments is 3. Awesome. So you can kind of see, guys, how in those scripts we can have spots and placeholders for these arguments here. Okay, that can be handy and useful when we're writing scripts, right? Let's go to our PowerPoint. Let's check out a third example here. Oops. So example 3, we got a little bit more going on here, a little bit more complexity. So what we're going to do is we're going to vim and create a file named comment_example.sh. And in that, we're going to start with our hash plane. Okay. We're going to actually add some numbers here. So we're going to do a commented line. It just says add 2 numeric values. And guys, these commented lines are usually for explaining what's going on in our code. Okay, these are actually usually be a lot longer. I mean, these comments can actually be about a paragraph long, and they usually explain what's going on in the code. Okay, that way when you go to look at someone else's script, you can see these comments and say, hey, this part of this script is doing such and such. You know, here's how you want to run it. Here's why you want to run it. Make sure you don't do this or that, etc. Okay, so these comments can be very long. All right, and then we have an actual arithmetic going on here. Okay, so these double parentheses, guys, allow arithmetic expansion and evaluation. Okay, if we just had single parentheses here, this plus sign and this equal sign might be interpreted a little bit oddly. Okay, so with this double parentheses, this is being interpreted as adding these 2 together. Okay. And we have a variable here called sum. We're setting that variable sum equal to 25 plus 35. Okay. Then we have another commented line here that says print the result. It says echo $sum. So it's calling the variable sum. Okay, which is defined here up in the code. All right. And then to run the script, we're going to be doing chmod. We're going to make it executable, okay? And then we're actually going to use something called the bash command, all right? Bash is a shell-compatible command language interpreter that executes commands read from standard input or from a file, okay? So bash is an actual interpreter command, all right? So we can say bash on any file. It's going to interpret it as a bash interpreter, okay? Let's go to our virtual machine here, and let's go ahead and write this out. So vim comment underscore example dot sh, enter, okay. Oops. And the first line is always, you guys remember, the hash string. So, oops, gotta hit insert mode, so I gotta hit I first. So, pound or hashtag symbol, exclamation point, slash bin, slash bash. Excuse me. So we're telling the loader what interpreter to use. We're gonna hit enter. We're gonna add a comment here that says add to numeric values. We're going to go to our next line. We're going to do double parentheses, sum, so we're setting the sum variable equal to 25 plus 35. And we're going to close that parentheses. Notice here, Vim is nice because it's actually showing you where these parentheses open and close. We have two of them, right? So we have the second set there, and it shows where that second set is set up, and it also shows where the first set is set up, okay? So that's kind of a nice feature about Vim. That's why I like using Vim. So we're going to do another line here, and I am going to separate this with a space just so it reads a little bit easier. We're going to say print the result. And we're going to do echo. We're going to call that variable, so $sum that we defined earlier. Okay, I'm going to hit escape, write, quit. Okay, now what do we got to do next, guys? I can't run this script as it is, right? I have it right here. What do I got to do? I got to make it executable. Okay, I'm going to clear my screen. So I'm going to chmod a plus x, so all or everyone has executable rights, comment underscore example dot sh. Oops. And now we see, yep, it's executable. I'm going to clear my screen. This time, instead of doing dot slash, we're going to do bash comment underscore example dot sh. Okay? Perfect. So the bash command interpreted that shell script and it spit out 60. Okay? So it just added up those two numbers and it echoed what those two numbers added up to. Okay? We can even change those numbers. To something else. I could put, I could put 50 here, right? So it's just going to add those two numbers now. It's going to do escape, write, quit. Okay, there you go. You just added 50 plus 25 now. All right. So that's all that's doing. Just showing you there that we can oops, got it backwards. Comment example. Just showing you that we can do arithmetic inside of our scripts. Which I know you're thinking right now, well, why wouldn't I just use a calculator to do that? That'd probably be easier. But guys, later on you realize that this can actually be quite useful when you need to actually add certain things up in a shell script, okay? It wouldn't be as simple as, hey, I just need you to add 10 plus 5, right? It might be something like, hey, I need any IDs over a certain number, to be flagged or, something like that, okay? So there's a lot of use for this just outside of actually adding up two numbers. So we're going to quit out of this. We're going to go to our next example in the slides. So let's head back to our PowerPoint. So example number 4 here. This has even a little bit more going on than the other 3. Okay. So let's take a look at what's going on here. We're going to create a file. It's going to be called username.sh. We're going to start with our hash pling always. Right? We're going to start off with echo, and we're going to say enter username. Then the next line is going to be read username. So we have a new command here that we haven't seen before. It's called read. And what this does is it takes the user input and stores it into a variable. In this case, the variable is username. Okay, we don't have to put a $sign here. We're not calling a variable. The read is storing the info in the username variable. Then we have our next line. It says echo, enter password. So that's going to display on the screen. It says enter password. Then we're going to run that read command again. It's going to take the user input from that and store it in the password command. Okay. And then down here, we have an if-then statement. So we start off the statement with if, and then we have 2 square brackets, a parentheses, we have a $sign username, so now we are calling the username variable, which was set up here. We have 2 equal signs, and then we have the string admin in quotation marks. Then we have a double ampersand for and then we have the $sign, meaning variable, and we have the variable password here, which was set up here, or will be set up there. Then we have double equal sign and the string secret. Then we close the parentheses and close the double brackets. And then we do semicolon space then. And we're going to do echo. And we're going to use the string valid user. And we're going to do else echo the string invalid user fee. And then we're going to make that executable. We're going to run it with /username.sh. So let's go to our terminal. I'm going to explain it even a little bit better once we get it written up. Alright. I'm going to clear my screen so I get a little bit of space back. Okay. So we're going to do vim username.sh. Okay. I for insert. We want to be able to edit this file. Always start with the hash pling. So hashtag or #, exclamation point, /bin, /bash. We'll go to our next line here. We're going to say echo, enter username. Okay. The next line is going to be read username. Okay. And then echo again, enter password. And the next line is going to be read password. Okay, I'm going to create a little bit of space here. I'm going to do if, double bracket, double square bracket, parentheses, username variable is equal to the string admin and double ampersand the variable password is equal to secret, the string secret. I'm going to close that parentheses. I'm going to close that double bracket, semicolon, then, and notice what happens here when I hit enter. It actually indents it for me, right? So when we're setting up these if-then statements, the next line is going to come under this if statement, and Vim does that for you because it recognizes this as an if-then statement. Okay, I'm going to put echo here, valid user. Okay, then I'm going to hit enter, and right now it's lined up with echo, but I'm going to put else and watch what happens. It brings it back to that if. Okay, I'm going to explain the importance of indentations here in just a second. Okay, say else. Notice it indents back to this echo line here. Echo invalid user. Okay. Notice what happens when I type the N here, fee. It brings it back in line with if else okay? And then we're going to hit escape. So I'm going to explain this line by line again. So this is our hash pling. This is where the loader tells it what interpreter to use, so we're going to use bin bash. Then you guys should know what echo does. It displays this on the screen. Read is taking the input from the user and storing it in username. Echo is going to output this to the screen again. Read is going to take your input and store it in password. And then we have this if-then statement, guys. Okay, so how if-then statements work is we have if all of this is true here, all of this is accurate and true, then do this part here. Else, if it's not true or it isn't accurate, do this, and then fee. So guys, this fee is probably pretty strange looking, I would imagine, right? Kind of weird. Like, what the heck is fee? Well, fee is just if backwards, okay? So you flip this around, you get fee. This is how you know that the if-then statement is done, okay? That's just how you end an if statement, is you spell if backwards, okay? The indentations are important because, remember, we're saying if all of this is true, then do this. This is called nesting, guys. I can actually have as many lines as I want underneath this if part. I could say echo valid user, echo good job, okay? And then I could say make directory new user, okay? So if all of this was true, then it would echo valid user, good job, and it would actually make a directory called new user, okay? So I can put as much as I want under this part, and it'll do all of that only if all of this is accurate and true, okay? I'm going to get rid of these parts so we stick to the original code. If all of this up here isn't true or accurate, then else this will happen. And again, I can put as much as I want here. Echo invalid user, echo bad job. And I could say, hey, remove remove r/. This is really bad. This will remove your whole directory. This is a bad thing to do. This will actually delete the whole system. Okay, so I'm definitely not going to do that. Okay, but just as an example, you know, you can put as much as you want under these if-else statements, okay? This is called nesting. This is why we indent it, so that it's not part of this top part here, okay? And that's why these are lined up. It's because these are brand new statements here, okay? All right, let's talk about what's really going on in between these brackets and parentheses, okay? So this is a variable here. We see that with the $sign, and it's the username variable, which is going to be defined up here when the user inputs something, okay? We have a double equal sign here, which is saying that this has to be equal to this, okay? We could actually put exclamation point. It would mean this cannot be equal to this. This is not equal to that. That would mean these two could not match for it to be a true statement, okay? And we have a string here. That's what these quotes saying, meaning that has to literally equal these words, a literal string, okay? Then we have a double ampersand symbol, meaning that this statement is only true if both parts are accurate and true, okay? So we can even type in admin, but then if we type in anything else other than secret, then this whole statement won't be true because we're saying that both parts have to be true and accurate, okay? And then we have our other variable here, which is password, which again is going to be defined up here from the user input. And we have that double equal sign again, meaning that this part and this part here have to be equal. And then we have the literal string again, secret, meaning that it has to be secret. Now we have this parentheses here because we're encapsulating this whole statement. We're saying all of this is one thing. Don't interpret it as two different statements or lines. And we have these double brackets because this is allowing these to be interpreted as bash script commands. All right. If we didn't have those double brackets, then some of these things would actually be interpreted a little bit differently. So the parentheses are encapsulating this as one statement. And these parentheses are allowing these to be interpreted correctly. Okay. And we have a semicolon and then. So this is ending the whole statement, the whole if statement. and starting to then do this. If all this isn't true, else do this, okay? All right, that was a lot to explain, guys. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So we're going to do chmod, right? We got to make this executable, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so, yeah. Is it executable? Sure is. Let me clear my screen. So we're going to do ./username.sh. Enter username. Okay. Admin is the username. Enter password. All right. Secret. Valid user. Perfect. So what happened there, guys? Well, if we see in our script here, I typed in admin for the username. Okay, admin equals username variable. Perfect, that's accurate and true. And I typed in secret, which does equal the password variable here. Okay, so both these statements were true and accurate. Then it did this. It echoed valid user. All right. Cool. Well, let's see what happens when we put only partially true stuff in there. So ./username.sh. Enter username, admin. Okay. Enter password. Baloney. Invalid user. Huh. Alright, let me clear my screen. So what happened? Well, I did put in admin for the username, so this part of the statement is true. But I put in baloney for the password. Okay, well, because we have these two ampersand symbols here, this part and this part has to be true for this whole thing to do this part of the code here. Since it wasn't, else it did this. Okay? Guys, the same thing would happen if both parts are not true, right? Oops. I could put toast for the username and lettuce for the password, and again, it's going to say invalid user, right? Using a lot of food here. I must be hungry, huh? All right, let's head back to our PowerPoint and close out this session. So guys, as we saw in those previous 4 examples, bash scripts are very powerful tools that can be used for sysadmins to automate their routine tasks. They're also very popular among DevOps developers, okay? They're going to use scripting a lot to automate things, create different applications, users, and platforms, okay? Guys, if you want to really learn bash scripting in depth, take the following classes, which are highly recommended. Intro to Linux Bash Scripting and Linux Bash Scripting Intermediate Level, okay? I will be teaching both these courses, so if you've enjoyed following me so far, go ahead and follow me to these courses as well. And guys, this is really what separates an okay or mediocre admin from the really good or great admins, okay? If you can really script good and use bash scripting to your advantage, that's going to really set you apart from everyone else. So it's really recommended that you guys do these courses and get good at bash scripting, okay? So in summation, we went over shell script fundamentals, we went over bash shell syntax very briefly, and we even went in depth into some shell script examples. But this only scratches the surface, guys. There are so many things you can do with shell scripting, okay? In the next session, we're going to go over backup concepts and strategies, using backups with the tar command, system backup options, and the xfs dump and xfs restore commands. And xfs are system files, guys, and these are the specific functions for those file systems. Be sure to follow these links for private tutoring sessions for system administrator management. There are weekly, monthly plans available, as well as Linux and bash scripting private tutoring sessions. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Looking forward to seeing you in session number 3.